Hi everyone, I am here doing a follow-up video to my last video, which was about setting boundaries and, when people show you who they are, believing them the first time. I sat with that for a little bit and I wanted to come back and make another follow-up video on about intention and, some practices that I am implementing in my dating journey and, just moving forward and who and how I choose to engage with, just in life in general, not just specific to dating and romantic or anything like that. So I'm gonna dive in. My first thing here is no more rescuing, fixing, or mothering adults. Your energy is sacred and access to you is a privilege. So in the past, when I look back at, relationships, how I showed up, how I show up, even, being romantic and or just friendships, with, friendships could be girlfriends, all of that, I'm not talking about, just romantic, mothering and, trying to show up for people in ways in which they don't show up for themselves, right? It's hard because we love people, we love our friends, we love our girlfriends, but as adults, it comes to a point where you have to let people be, right? We're all here to learn, we're all here to live and walk our own journey. So we can't protect everybody from everything. We can't, hold everyone's hand through everything, like even our children. I have a lot of girlfriends with children and, it's coming to points where, they have to allow them to learn and have their experience because that's part of life. If we shield people, then we keep them from their own paths and what they should be learning, so in regards to dating, I for one am only interested in meeting individuals who have their lives together, right? They know who they are, they know what they have been through, they are not defined by those things, but they have risen above and transformed through them. They're able to articulate, and communicate their needs. They're able to articulate and communicate what they are looking for, what they can bring, to the table. And I'm not talking about finances, I'm talking about maturity and emotions and, healing, right? Because if an individual has not done the work, all they're going to be doing is coming to you and bringing all of their problems and wounds and issues and chaos on a platter and hope that you will entertain it. And, most people do, right? But we want more than that. The only type of mothers we want to be are to our children. We don't want to be mothers to our significant others. They have that already, right? And if they don't, that's something for them to work through. You cannot be a partner, and a mother. Those are two different roles, and there may be some men out there that want a mother, then let them go find that, right? That I don't want that for you. You want to be able to show up and fully be yourself and fully walk the world and not deprive the world of who you are and the gifts that you have to offer and bring, into a relationship and, what you can shower your household with. Your energy is sacred and access to you is a privilege. And, too many of us don't really believe that deep down. And we really need to. There was this whole thing, going by, oh, no one's special, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. Like I can respect that. but you are unique and you have things to offer that someone else can't because they aren't you, right? So really lean into that and really just lean in and be who you are and show up for yourself every single day and show up for your family every single day and your partner. And if you haven't met them yet, you just doing that, you're going to attract the person that's meant for you so you can shine and be all those things. You don't want to end up with someone because you've dulled and dimmed your light, right? Because then when you start to feel safe and happy and your light starts to go on, they're gonna go, whoa, 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 like what's this? Like you've changed, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you've always been that. So just be her now, right? Don't dim your light, just keep shining. And the right people will surround you, and let all the wrong people fall away. The world needs your light. Speaking your truth with clarity instead of disappearing. For example, I am not available for this becomes your new frequency. Honesty is a form of self-respect. Your honesty is a form of self-respect. You know, for a long time, I would be polite, and ultimately that just turns into being passive aggressive, right? Like you're trying to beat around the bush to get to what you want to get to, but you don't want to hurt their feelings. You want to be kind. And it's like, you know what? Like, let's just stop that now. And when someone's inappropriate or someone's just, pushing a boundary, crossing a boundary, you have the right to say, I'm not available for this, right? And this doesn't have to just be in a relationship. It can be in real life. I was in line. My sister is a performer. I was in line to go see her show. It was a long line because the house wasn't open yet. So house meaning the theater. So we were just standing outside in the line. This woman comes in late. Everyone else in line has been there early. And she has a walker. But what I realized as I got closer is it's not a walker. It's a dog. It's like a dog. She's pushing her dogs in a stroller essentially. And she's trying to cut the line. And I'm like, okay, this is crazy. And I don't say anything because it's not me, right? Like if people in front of me allow her to cut the line, then that was their choice, right? Like it's not me. So no one's letting her cut. And then the wheel of fortune rolls to me. The line stops and she's there. She's like, okay, I'm going to go in front of you. I said, no, you're not. And she said, but I'm asking you. And I said, and I'm telling you. She said, but I don't understand. And I said, ma'am, that's fine. You don't have to understand. But we have all been waiting in line. And we all are going to go inside when it's our turn to go in. And she said, well, I just don't understand. I've been waiting in line. And I said, I don't have time for this. And she looked at me. She was like perplexed. And I said, have a good day. And I turned and I kind of cut her off and I waited to go in, and at that moment I was proud of myself because the old me would have said, oh, fine, just go. And I would have been mad about it. And it's like, and I would have been mad about it because it wasn't my decision. I allowed someone to enforce something upon me that I didn't want. And sure, there's other people who could be like, well, why does it matter to you so much? Why didn't you just let her go? Because I didn't want to. And I don't have to explain to you or anybody else. My issue in that moment was someone else's entitlement to other people's time, right? She decided that she didn't want to come early, so therefore she didn't value her place in line, right? There was nothing wrong with her, and at that time, I actually was fighting cancer. So if anyone wanted to show up late, right, and not stand in line, I feel like I might have been a little entitled to do that, but I didn't. I showed up early, and I stood in line, and I waited. And this person decided that they weren't going to participate in that, and they were just going to come in when they wanted, and they were going to go in when they wanted. And for me, no thank you. I'm not available for that. And that was that. And I was proud of myself. And then from that moment on, it became easier for me to tell people no. And when they're like, and it's like, you don't have to understand. I don't have to justify it to you. That's for you to figure out. But I don't have to do what you want me to do, period. and it wasn't aggressive. It was just a simple, I don't have time for that. Someone on the subway train, literally a few weeks ago, pushed me because they decided that they should enter the train, which was completely empty, because I live at the last stop. The platform was also fairly empty. Decided to literally try to knock me over, which if you know me, that's not really possible because I'm pretty strong and you're not knocking me over. And then proceeded to go on some kind of rant. I looked at her and I said, I don't have time for you. And then I said with choice words, shut the F up. And I meant it. And then I just continued to repeat it very quietly until she did. Because at the end of the day, you don't get to tell me who to be and where to be and how to act. There was no reason to push me. There was no reason to use force. There was no reason to then be nasty, right? So I think that we have become too accepting of poor behavior because we want to be polite and we want to just, let it go. So now we're coming into a society of where the people who are used to just bum rushing their way through are, because the majority of people aren't calling them out, and then so it's just getting worse. So again, don't go out of my way to do any of this. It only is when someone's infringing on my right. If I had witnessed that happen to someone else, I would go, that's unfortunate, I don't get involved, but you're not going to, come into my reality, my space, my center, and dictate to me what's going to happen to me, right? So your honesty, going back to the whole point, was a form of self-respect, right? I'm allowed to have to have, what I want to happen and what I'm willing to allow to happen, and I'm allowed to stand on it, right? And say it, right? It's as simple as when I was on the airplane, I was sitting in a window seat, a couple came over, he said, I'm traveling with my wife, would you mind? I said, absolutely, it'd be my pleasure. I have no problem switching seats. And another one where two guys were traveling on a guy's trip, they had asked me if I wanted to, change across the aisle. I said, no problem. Why? Because no skin off my back. However, if there was a day where for whatever reason I wanted that seat, I was in my right and my power to say no. But usually on the airplane, I don't particularly care, right? So I'm willing to do that. So it's beauty. It's beautiful beauty. It's beautiful once you allow and empower yourself to say and stand up for yourself and say yes or no. And then the more you do it, the easier it becomes, right? And just removing yourself and removing things away from you that you don't want. That makes me uncomfortable. Stop. If they don't stop, you leave, right? Refusing last-minute demands that pull you out of your body. Your time, your plans, and your nervous system are not open for negotiation. So, for me in the past, I would always be available, right? And if it was somebody I really wanted to see, I would not make any plans, so that way, if and when they called, I would be available and I could do whatever. And in doing that, it created so much emotional deregulation that obviously I didn't realize at the time. And in healing and learning and therapy, I'm able to identify all of that, because now I'm in a place where I can't make plans, I don't want to make plans, or I become flaky because if this person then calls, then I just want to be available, and that comes from just not a good place, not a centered place, not a grounded place, not a place of whole and fulfillment, right? That comes from a place of lack, from a place of abandonment, from a place of fear. And then what that does is you're just spinning all these emotions, and you're waiting and you're hoping, and you're giving all your power to this individual, right? Which, ew, no. So you plan your day, you wake up and you make your plans. And if someone wants to see you truly, and they want to truly spend quality time with you, they are going to make a point of reaching out to you in advance and making plans with you in advance. No one worth your time is ever going to call you on the day of, unless maybe they got last minute tickets to something, and then that would be an exception, right? Hey, my boss just gave me front row seats to the Knicks game. Are you available? You were the first person I thought of. Yes. Versus, hey, what are you doing? The WYD text. Want to grab a drink? No, I don't. What am I doing? I'm living my best life. I'm not here for that. You're not available for low level, low lying, low hanging fruit ideas, right? Like, that takes zero effort. It's quite literally the bare minimum. I believe I get, better, reaching out for my girlfriends from that, right? My godchildren even ask to see me in advance, and they're 4 and 7. So, a grown man most certainly can think ahead and plan an appropriate date, right? And if they can't, and you allow that, that's only, my mother always says, how you start is how you finish. So if you're willing to entertain someone who cannot plan ahead, how can they plan for your future? If you are willing to date someone who can't plan ahead and can't organize something and create a wonderful experience for you, again, what are you setting yourself up for in the future? They're not all of a sudden going to start to create and curate all of these things. And then there comes to a point, because there was someone who kind of did that, where it was kind of in advance, but then they didn't really confirm, and then I had to reach out to confirm and say, hey, is this still happening? Oh, yeah. 4 o'clock work? And it's like, what's going on, right? Like, if you have other things going on, or maybe they were hoping that I didn't say anything so then they could continue to do whatever it is they're doing, it's like, I don't need you to do me any favors. If I agree to hang out with you, I'm interested. On some level, I'm interested. I don't just say yes anymore to just hang out and have time. I much rather see my godchildren, hang out with my girlfriends, spend time with my mother, spend time with my sisters, or quite literally enjoy my peace and quiet at home by myself. So if I'm willing to not do any of those things and reserve time and commit time to be fully with you and present with you, I expect that in return. So I think, moving forward in the new year, women really need to hold men accountable and truly lean into this. Do not be available. I don't care if you really like them. Don't be available. And I assure you, they will do better. And they will make better plans. And if they don't, you're saving yourself so much grief. Why do we want something that's not what we want? And then also you're protecting, going back to your nervous system is not open for negotiation. You want someone who is clear, direct, and consistent. Clear, direct, and consistent. Without those 3 things, there cannot possibly be a relationship. Clear, direct, and consistent. If someone's in and out all over the place, I have someone, they'll like show up every now and then, how you doing, blah blah blah, they disappear, you want to have this, you want to meet up for food, no, okay, like who needs all that, right? Like I don't even know what to say to that anymore. I literally just ignore them, because like, you're a loser. You're not clear because you don't know what you want, or you're afraid of what you want. You're not direct because you're full of shit. And you're not consistent. The only thing you're consistent about is being inconsistent. And that is a hard pass for me. And another one, not entertaining jokes, comments, or behaviors that dim your light. If it contracts your energy, don't smile through it. You redirect or you leave, right? So if someone's making jokes and it hurts your feelings, and this goes for relationships, because my previous relationship would make jokes and I'd be like, I don't like that. And they would just continue to do it. I've learned now, because they're fucking a loser and they don't care, and they wanted to hurt me, and they were psychologically hurting me, and they knew what they were doing. And that's the case for most people that do this, right? Hurt people, right? And that doesn't mean, oh, they're hurt, let's feel bad for them. No, I don't, right? Like, we all have been through some shit, and it doesn't give you the right and the license to go around being mean and hurtful to people. Like, you should be the opposite because of what you've been through. You shouldn't become it, right? So the moment that someone's just disrespectful, it's not cute. It's not funny. I say, walk away and leave. What are you staying for? Because the longer you stay, the longer you say this behavior is okay with me. And it's just not. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. And you're a loser if you think making fun of someone is funny, or it's just a joke, get thick skin. No, I have thick skin, and I don't subscribe to that, right? Like, your idiotic behavior and your loserness is not for me, right? So I can have thick skin and also not like who you are and how you're behaving. Both things can be true. Okay. This one is a great one. Making choices that honor your future self, not other people's comfort. Your evolution is the priority. Your expansion comes before someone else's expectations. Making choices that honor your future self, not other people's comfort. Don't be a people pleaser. Do what makes you happy, but also do what puts you where you want to be in the future, right? My past, I would pay for everything. And I mentioned in the book, and in the moment of doing that, I looked at it as I made more money than this person, so I would never want my partner to not have something because they didn't earn it because of the path that they had. And in hindsight, I realized that I'm doing myself a huge disservice, as well as the individual. Far be it from me to deprive him the right to work hard and to earn something that they should want, or that they want, just like I did, right? Like, I work hard for what I have, I work hard for what I achieve, and I don't take any of it for granted, right? And I value it because of that. And with individuals who will allow you to pay for everything is usually because they don't want to work hard. They're grifters, they're parasites, and they'll do it, right? And they'll allow you to feel bad. He never said, oh no, don't do that. He just became more and more greedy and would actually just demand certain things. Oh, I want to go out for steak tonight, and I want to go, to, Del Frisco's or here or that. The bill would come, and that wouldn't even flinch. Groceries. Get all the steak, get all the things in the thing, but when we got to the counter, wouldn't even go grab his card, right? So in those moments, towards the end, I started to get resentful, because I'm like, this person is entitled, they feel entitled to my resources, my hard work. I'm the one working 60, 70 hours a week to make the money that I make to be able to do this. And, they're a fucking bum. They're a bum right now, and they don't offer anything. They don't even try, right? And I know that sometimes, roles are roles, and, some people can work hard and they will not be able to get certain things just because of whatever. But there's still other ways to show up and to give back and to participate and to level that out. But this person just didn't, so don't get involved with anything like that. So my future self now, has to, get oneself out of little holes that they made because, letting someone take them, and their resources for granted. So now when I make decisions, I'm only thinking of my future self and the future life that I want to have. And if you are a drain to that, if you can't help me have the life that I want to have for myself and my future children, I can't talk to you. And it's there's nothing to be offended about, but we're not on the same page. You can't just barely meet me and then expect me to carry. I'm not willing to do that, So I think it's about getting clear on what you're willing to put up with without being resentful and without, really making yourself upset, being resentful, because that will start to seethe and percolate below. You deserve to have the highest and the most beautiful life and all the ideas that you have. You don't have to sacrifice them to be with someone just because you think that they're your last shot. In your evolution is a priority. Choose the partner that you're going to grow, that you're going to expand, that you're going to be better than who you are yesterday. And not because of them, but not because of them solely, but because you guys together are a power couple, and you both make each other better. You inspire each other. So it's not just one person carrying and lifting and dragging and paying and doing. It's both of you together, right? One of you is going to be the breadwinner, fine, but then the other person's going to carry the load in other ways that you can't, so that when you're ready to rest, they got you the rest of the way. And then when you wake up, you're farther than you were when you went to sleep, because they never stopped working. They never stopped, doing what they needed to do to get you forward. So it's this beautiful, back and forth. I have friends that get to be stay-at-home moms, and their lives are exponentially fuller every year because of the partnership that they're in. I have other partners where everybody, friends where, everybody works, but it's just like they can't seem to get ahead, because it's just like they're not working together, right? You got to come together, and you have to choose your partner like your life depends on it, because it does. It truly does. So make choices that honor your future self, not people's comfort, right? Your evolution is the priority. Your expansion comes before someone else's expectations. Releasing, which means unfollowing, blocking, unfriending anyone whose energy feels off. If your body says no, that's the answer. Trust your intuition over obligation, right? If something feels off, just trust it, it's off, right? Our ancestors lived in the forest, they foraged, they hunted, and all they had to go on was their intuition, and you follow it. You just follow it. You do, right? Like I said previously, there was someone that I met, and I was like, oh, we have some things in common, but there was something that I was just like, it's off. And I said, you know what? I'm out. And I told them, I said, I can't put my finger on it. I wish you nothing but the best, but like, I'm not willing to watch this rerun, right? Like I felt like it was something that I had already lived, and that I didn't need to like live it again to be certain, to be sure. Right? Take your time to respond without guilt. You are not available for urgency, pressure, instant access. You respond from regulation and not reactivity. So I had a previous, do I want to talk about that? No. So it's not that I want to talk about it, I just, certain subjects, due to what I do for a living, not worth it. So in my world, in my life, I am an executive assistant. There was a beginning of, when I was learning 15 years ago, where you learned that urgency was great and responsiveness was great. But as you grow and as you learn, you realize that everybody thinks everything is urgent and everybody wants everything done now. It's up to you to set the boundaries and to determine when you're going to respond and how you're going to respond. So never allow someone to come into your life and create and wreak chaos, because that's what they want, because they want you to do this now. No one owns you, right? Sure, you can get a paycheck. Sure, you can have a contract, but no one owns you. No one owns your time. So the moment that you are engaging with someone who believes that they own you and own your time, and this can be friendships, workships, relationships, get out. It's not worth it. There's no amount of money, there's no amount of anything that is worth someone lording over you and believing that they own your time, your attention, everything. No one. And then the last thing I want to leave you with is leaving the moment your spirit feels done. You don't have to stay to be polite. You don't have to explain to soothe someone else. Your alignment leads the way. And this goes for literally everything. Relationships, friendships, workships. Because here's the thing. One day you're going to die. One day you are going to do everything for the last time. And what I would hate for you, for myself, for anyone, is to be on your deathbed, or to just, because I don't know how it's going to be when you leave, for that to be like, that was it, right? So don't waste your time and waste your energy on shit people, on shit relationships, on shit jobs, with shit people, right? It's not fucking worth it. It's much better to be alone and happy and at peace, and you get to choose who you're interacting with, versus being in a relationship that is killing your soul. It's far worse, or being in a work environment, doing a job that is soul sucking. Because the moment you get sick, the moment you're dead, they replace you, because it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter to them. You don't matter. So you have to matter to you, right? Think about it. Think of all the jobs that you had, whether you were fired, you're let go. No one truly cares about you. Everyone will say, oh, we're family, we're this, we're that. But at the end of the day, everyone cares about themselves and their bottom line, right? So you have to do and choose you. You have to do for you, and you have to choose yourself, because no one else is going to do that for you. You have to, you have to, you have to. Our time here is precious. Our time here is limited. And every year, the time here goes faster and faster. And I urge you to choose yourself every single day, every single second, to be super intentional about the people that you are surrounding yourselves with, about the people that you're choosing to have children with, about the people that you're choosing to marry, because this is your life and this is what you're creating, right? And what you create and you choose and you live, it's everything. And I don't think that we put enough emphasis on that, right? Like, just the learnings that I've had, from the domestic abuse situation to cancer. I am a completely different and changed person. I believe I died twice, and I am a living embodiment of everything that I have learned. And I want all of these learnings for you guys. I want everyone to live in their light and in their fullness, in their happiness, because that is what everyone deserves. So please, take these principles into your life. I hope that, it gets you thinking, and let's see what else comes up on these videos. This was supposed to be 15 minutes, and I don't even know how long this